Sean, the calls for Joe Biden to release a list of SCOTUS nominees are growing louder by the day. But just today, Biden said voters do not have the right to know who he would nominate. Take a listen.
He just wants to be president.
What he's doing here is trying to change the subject. He wants the discussion about who I would appoint.
Should voters know? Should voters know who you're going to appoint?
No, they don't, but they will. If I'm elected, they'll know in plenty of time.
He's holding out here. All right, we'll discuss. Let's bring in our company, Democratic strategist Jessica DeLoach and Trump senior legal advisor Jenna Ellis. Ladies, welcome.
Hey. Thanks.
All right, Jessica, I'm going to start with you as the sitting Democrat here. Why isn't Biden releasing a list here? He said it would be a black woman, and that narrows it down at least somewhat.
Sure. Well, I mean, I tend to agree with former Vice President Biden that this would be a bit of a distraction. Right now, what matters is the election. He's also wanting to honor the last wishes of Justice Ginsburg when she said that she didn't want her replacement to be made until the next president was elected. Now, while it is not her place to make that call, Biden has decided to honor that, and that is a lot of what's driving not releasing the names of this list. And also, I do believe that by doing so, it allows society to, politicize a most important appointment that's a lifetime appointment, and that's something that I think that we need to get away from, is the politicization of the court.
Yeah, it is an interesting strategy, and I understand some of his points for doing it. Jenna, the interesting thing is this is juicing the base on either side because it's such an important decision. Do you think that it helps Trump that Biden won't release a list?
Absolutely, it helps Trump. I mean, this is completely ridiculous. And with all due respect to Jessica, who I know has to, find some reason to kind of go along with Joe Biden, this is exactly the reason why everyone is distrustful of Joe Biden, because he won't be transparent to the American people. We're seeing that there is a vacancy. And if he's calling for that seat to not be filled until after the election, he needs to be transparent with the American people. Who would his pick be? The fact that he's hiding that from Americans and has really no reason to is just proof that he doesn't want to show those names because they are far too extremist leftist. This is the same nonsense that Nancy Pelosi said, well, we have to pass the bill before you can see what's in it. It's the same thing that Joe Biden's doing. There's absolutely no reason that he shouldn't be front and center saying, here's who I pick and I'm going to stand by it. That's weak. It's not transparent. And President Trump is showing his bold action. He has been firm to the American people even before this vacancy came open.
So Jess, I don't mean to gang up on you, but I do think that all those issues aside that Jenna's bringing up, the transparency, whatever, from a purely political standpoint, and I get your point that you don't want to politicize the court, but I mean, we are in a political year, and frankly, last cycle the case was made that, judges are important, here's who we should put out, and here's who the kind of people that I would choose from. It's not saying that he has to tell you who he's going to pick, but I think that if I were Biden, I would juice the base by saying, guys, this is my list. It's 20 or 30. As he said, he's already narrowed the field and said, I'm going to choose a black woman. So there's X number of black women on the federal bench. Of that, he can call, a list of 25 or 30 or whatever it is and say, these are the people that I would choose from. I would just think from purely a political standpoint, never mind all the other issues, that it would actually be smart to get your base fired up and saying, these are the kind of people, almost like you would say, these are the kind of people I would appoint to my cabinet, but then go toe-to-toe with Trump and say, fine, take it off the table. Here's my list. There's your list. If those are the kind of people that you want, here's the kind of people that you'll get with a Joe Biden. I mean, politically speaking, I think that it would be something. I'm not looking to give Joe Biden any advice, but I do think that it would make sense.
Sure. Well, I disagree with you here because, number one, our base is already juiced. We actually don't have to exploit the death of Ginsburg the way the Republicans are wanting to also dishonor it. I find Jenna's collective memory of just how her party has behaved during Supreme Court appointments that would occur within a presidential year to be at most hypocritical, because it is. And everybody knows exactly what I'm talking about. We know which Republicans came forward and said that, President Obama shouldn't have been allowed to nominate someone 9 months out from an election in a presidential election year. But you see the collective memory of the GOP seems to change whenever something can work in their favor. And Jenna has not said once yet why there's an actual good reason to do this. She can speculate all she wants, but what she needs to be looking at are our numbers in battleground states and how well we're doing the base is juiced. If anything, the way the Republicans are acting right now speaks to how scared they are, and they should be.
So I will just preface this by saying I think the hypocrisy on all sides goes around. I mean, all week long, we and a lot of other organizations have been playing clips from Democrats saying that you've got to do this in an election year, you've got to have 9 justices, and Republicans saying we shouldn't do this in an election year. And now, like, both sides have completely flipped and said, I don't remember 2016. What happened then? But right. Jenna, let me kind of just put this to you. The thing that I think has been interesting, and I truly mean this in a concerned way. There have been a lot of folks that have said, if the president moves forward, and again, regardless of whether it's hypocritical or not, and that's a separate discussion, he does have the ability to do this under the law. That should be clear, right? Politically, whether it's smart and whether or not it's hypocritical for the Republicans is a totally separate situation. But the bottom line is, I've seen a lot of folks on Twitter. There's a constitutional law professor in Canada. His name is Emmett McFarland. He tweeted this. He said, burn down Congress before letting Trump try to appoint anybody to SCOTUS. Then there's another guy who put down, his name's Russ Tamblyn. He's an actor. He wrote, mount up. You dare try and replace her right now, and there will be a war. That's a promise. I think there's a big difference between a political difference, hypocrisy, et cetera, all the stuff that Jessica mentioned, and this kind of like getting people to the point of potentially committing violence, anarchy, things like that. I think the rhetoric has started to go way too far.
Absolutely. And to Jessica's point, I think that was absolutely unfair and a cheap shot to say that, the Republicans are exploiting Ruth Bader Ginsburg's death. This is something that is a constitutional duty of the president to nominate, and he absolutely has that right. That doesn't mean that anyone is in any way diminishing that loss. And for Democrats and other proponents to be saying that they are going to burn down the system, I mean, this is absolutely ridiculous. It's un-American. And I wrote a piece actually in Newsweek for Constitution Day yesterday that I'd encourage everyone to read, calling it Save Our American System. And the fact that Democrats are so extremely leftist, they're Marxists, they're socialists, and they are not trying to work within the system of the Constitution, but because they have been manipulating it for so long and they've not gotten anywhere, they are now literally just trying to burn it down. And Don Lemon said the same thing on CNN last night, right, that we're just going to have to completely destroy the system. That's their intent.
So,
they're not looking.
So, Jess, do you? I imagine you disagree with a lot of what Jenna's saying,
well,
but do you think, like, just getting to my point on the rhetoric, do you think that the rhetoric has gone too far?
Oh, absolutely. The rhetoric has gone too far in both directions. We live in the most hyper-partisan, most politically polarized society that we ever have. And it's easy to cherry pick what people say, to find someone on Twitter who's basically a nobody, to find, to go to CNN and see what Don Lemon says. Well, if that's the case, why don't you kick over to Breitbart and see what they have to say? I mean, if we're going to have this conversation, find a way to be fair. Jenna, I'm glad you came prepared today, but you still really haven't answered any questions as to why your party is behaving the way that it is. It's just really sad.
All right. Well, let's take it down a notch. It's Lindsay's birthday, so we're all going to play nice today. We've got 40-something days before the election, and we're going to have a lot of action to go. I appreciate both of you guys coming, and we look forward to having you back soon.
Thank you.
All right, well, we're going to continue this conversation about the SCOTUS picks with campaign strategist Dick Morris right after the break.